Hello friends, and welcome to a cozy reading journal update. Now I say cozy because all this week it's been raining a ton and the weather has been dreadful. So I've decided that today I'm going to spend the day catching up on all my reading journal entries, and I'm also going to pretend that it's autumn, even though it is the beginning of summer. But it's currently chucking it down with rain outside, it's very grey. So yeah, I'm just going to take advantage of that and pretend that it's autumn and have a nice cozy day journaling. And I'm also a massive autumn girly, so I'm more than happy to embrace the weather. So I have my autumn jumper on ready, and yeah, let's try and get the cozy autumn vibes going. And if you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know if you're journaling along with me in the comments. But without further ado, let's get started. Our first reading spread today is going to be a very long overdue one. I actually read this book maybe like 2 months ago, and I've just been really meaning to getting around to doing the spread in my journal. So I decided to do just half a spread this time because this book wasn't like a big chunky long one. It was just like a really nice easy romance to read, and it was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. And I do really like Ali Hazelwood as an author. I find her writing quite funny. I find it very easy to read, and I feel like if she does a book about something specific, she definitely like researches it well, which I always enjoy. So this one was all about chess, and I don't really know much about chess, but I feel like now I do after reading it. And we basically follow Mallory, who is essentially finished with chess, although she is very good, and she is persuaded to join a charity chess match as kind of like a one last go kind of thing, where she goes against basically the most skilled and top player in the entire world, which is Nolan Sawyer, and he is meant to be like this really scary character who people are like afraid of, and they play each other, and then essentially he just becomes obsessed with her for different reasons. So she then decides to join the chess competition, and then the story continues from there. So it's a really fun like rivals to lovers situation, and that's all I can really say about it because, as you know, I don't like to give too many spoilers. Well, I don't like to give any spoilers when I'm doing my reading spreads and talking about the books. I will just mention things that are in the blurb, so things that you would see anyway if you were researching this book. And I decided to add this cute little book cover in there too, and I use this like multicolored plaid paper as the decoration. And I also remembered that I had these like chess pieces from some random sticker packs, so I felt like they would be perfect for this spread. But yeah, this was just like a really nice easy read to get through, and I do always enjoy Ali Hazelwood. The next spread that we're going to be doing is a fantasy spread, and this one is one that I have been meaning to read for a very long time because I feel like it's one of those really popular series in kind of like the fantasy romantasy world, and yeah, it feels good to have finally started reading it. So with book one, I enjoyed it and I had a lot of fun, but now that I'm I'm currently on the third book as I'm recording this, and I will say I have much more enjoyed book 2 and book 3 than the first one, and I think it's because we have a ton of like deadly trials in it, and that is kind of like the main plot point for the first book. It kind of like takes us through that, and I'm not really somebody that's interested in those kind of things. Like, I don't mind them, but I don't love like deadly trials and reading about lots of gore and horrible things. So yeah, I think that is why maybe this first book is my least favourite out of the 3. And even though I am currently having to go through a few trials in the 3rd book, it's not like the focus of the story, so it's not kind of like taking up all of the time of the plot. Now, in regards to the characters, I love Payden, the main female character. I think she's an absolute badass, and I just find her so interesting for many different reasons. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading about her. And then of course our main male character Kai, who is of course a classic fantasy book boyfriend, and I get why everybody is obsessed with him. I really enjoy the dual POV as well between the two characters, because it just kind of gives you a bit more insight on kind of what he's thinking and what she's thinking. And they have to essentially go in these trials together, and I guess they are technically against each other, so the whole story is them starting off as rivals, and then obviously things progress through all the deadly trials, and it was interesting, I guess, to see how their relationship could kind of blossom within these deadly trials. So I guess that was an interesting place for it all to kind of go down. It is a young adult book, so there isn't any spice, but there is plenty of slow burn and romance and lots of cute things that they're always saying to each other. And I really love how Kai always says darling. I don't know why, but yeah, I really enjoyed that in the book. So for the spread, I went with a ton of like dark purple things, because in the book cover there are, I think they're forget-me-nots from the book, but I didn't have any forget-me-not stickers, so I just went with kind of like the dark fantasy purple sort of vibe. And all of these stickers that I'm using on this page are all from Journal Say, so I will link all the products down below, because I do have a discount code which you can use if you want to, and it is kind of like my favorite place to get stickers from for my fantasy spreads, because they just have a ton. So yeah, if you decide to get any, they'll all be down below. But I am so happy that I finally got this series kind of like under my belt, seeing as I've been reading Romantasy now for like a year, I guess. I guess it was like this time last year, maybe a little bit earlier, that I started reading Akatar, and everything just kind of snowballed from there. So I feel like I've got most of the big series now, but I still have quite a few that I need to get through. But yeah, this was a really fun one to read, and I'm so glad that I finally did. And I'm definitely enjoying the rest of the series too. We are back in the romance genre now, and this one kind of caught me off guard with how much I enjoyed this book. I had such a fun time reading it, and I really wanted to kind of like dip into some more sports romances, because I had so much fun reading Deep End, which is all swimming and diving, but I figured that Icebreaker is quite a big book in the romance genre, I guess, and of course it is a sports romance, and I feel like I didn't realize how many hockey romances there are, so I feel like that's like a whole thing. But I've only read this series, so if you do have any other like hockey romances that you recommend that I should read, then please let me know in the comments, because yeah, I really want to try out some more like sports romances, because they were really fun. And this one is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, so it's part of the Maple Hills series. And this is book 1 in the series, and it follows Anastasia and Nate. And Anastasia is basically a figure skater and Nate is a hockey player, like an ice hockey player, and something basically happens with their rinks and then they have to end up sharing because they kind of have like their own separate ones. So they are kind of like forced to spend time together. And let's just say Anastasia is not too happy about that at the start. And Nate is very persistent. So yeah, again, is another like rivals, enemies to lovers situation. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this book is I kind of really enjoyed like the university campus setting. And I think that's also why I liked Deep End so much. But it comes with all of the hockey team. And they're all just so cute, so like wholesome, all the boys together. And I just really enjoyed kind of like seeing them chat to each other, and you get to see like when they're all texting in like their group chats, and it was just like a really fun time, if I'm being honest. So this one is definitely spicy as well, pretty spicy, but it is a very, very good book, and you'll get to know a lot of the characters as well as you progress through the series. So when you first start this, I was kind of like, oh my god, there's so many people in this book already, and I'm in like the first 10% of this book and I've already forgotten who everyone is. But it does make sense as to why there are so many characters as the series moves on. There is also a character called Aaron who is kind of like Anastasia's current like figure skating partner, and he is the absolute worst. Like, I hated him so much. I mean, you meant to in the book, but yeah, I really, really hated him. So I just found this book really wholesome, really nice. So I decided to give this one the full spread because I would say that this is my favourite out of all of the series because I have now finished this entire series. And for the stationery, I decided to use some like snowflake patterned tape, which goes really well with obviously the whole theme of the book, which is also from Journal Say. The purple flower stickers are, and so are the gold letters, so I'll link those too. And then I just printed out these like little ice skates and hockey skates and the book cover just to go along with the rest of the spread because I didn't have a ton of things to decorate it all with. But yeah, I'm really happy with this one, and this is kind of one of those books that I wish I could read again, like from the start, as if I've never read it before. If you have read this series, I would love to know which book out of the 3 was your favourite. So for the second book, Wildfire, I'm doing like a single spread, and then the other side is going to be the third book in the series, which is Daydreamer. So in Wildfire, it's a bit of a different setting because you follow Russ and Aurora, who basically kind of have a night together at like a hockey party, and then they're both going to summer camp the next day. And then surprise, surprise, they are both there. So obviously then they kind of have to navigate that, the awkwardness, and obviously things progress. But the whole thing is set at the summer camp, which I guess was a nice little change to being on campus with all the hockey boys. But I think I definitely preferred it when they're kind of like with all the gang. So they were kind of like by themselves, and then there was the obviously people that they're camping with, so you meet even more new characters that you haven't met before. But they were really nice too. Something that I did enjoy with this book is they both have like quite tricky relationships with their parents, so that's quite like a big plot point, and they kind of like support each other through that, and I found that really interesting throughout the story. And I enjoyed kind of like learning about that and the reasons why their parents kind of do things that they do. One thing that I didn't really love is that because they're in a summer camp, obviously there's like kids around all the time, and they were like just being gross all the time. Not the main characters, the kids. So that was kind of annoying. I was like, ooh, get out this book. Like, I don't want to read about you guys. So yeah, I would say that this book was my least favourite out of them all, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad book. I still really enjoyed reading it. It was just my least favourite of the 3. So I went with kind of like colour themes to match the book cover. And then I also had like some old stickers that I had forgotten I had, and there's like a first aid kit and kind of like camping-y things, so it just made sense to add that. And the floral like peachy tape is also from Journal Say. So on the next spread, we are now going on to the final book in the Maple Hills series, which is Daydreamer. And this was such like a wholesome, lovely read, because we follow Henry, and you will know Henry if you've read this series because he's quite a big character in the first and second book. He's kind of like one of the main hockey guys, and he's also like really close with basically all the girlfriends, so he's kind of like a sweetheart. He's very like calm, and a lot of like the girls like him, but he's never really had a relationship. And we get to know him, and he's an artist, so he is now the captain of the hockey team, which he kind of like struggles with. And then we have Hallie, she's like a budding author, and she's very clever, so they kind of like meet because she starts to help him with his assignments because he's not doing so great, and then you kind of see their relationship progress. I will say that these guys are so cute together. They are so wholesome, and something I really liked reading about is there's like a little note at the start of the book to kind of like tell you that Henry, the character, is basically like neurodivergent, and it's kind of him kind of like figuring out the way that he does things and how he kind of navigates relationships. So that was really nice to kind of like read about as well. But yeah, this one is definitely really cute. It's such a lovely read. Again, really kind of like flew through this one, and because of the purple cover, I obviously wanted to match that with the rest of the spread. And then I had some of these old stickers from one of my pen pals, which were like arty stickers, so I decided to use those because Henry draws Hallie a lot in the story, so it just kind of like made sense for them to be together. But yeah, this series was so fun, so if anyone knows any more series that are similar, please let me know, because I really would like to read some more sports romances that kind of have the same vibe as these ones. And yeah, I'm just not really sure what to read at the moment. I've had a look through Goodreads, but a lot of them don't have great reviews, so yeah, if you guys could let me know, that would be great. But these are all the finished spreads that I have worked on today, and I had so much fun just kind of spending the day catching up on all these reading spreads. And if you have read any of them, then I'd love to know your thoughts. I really like to talk about books with people, so if anyone ever wants to message me on Instagram as well and just chat about books, I will be more than happy to do that. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this pretend autumn day, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.